In this video, you will learn how to ingest a CSV file from your S3 bucket to Snowflake account. So let's start by creating an IAM role in the AWS. I'm gonna go to my AWS account and in the search bar type IAM. Click on it and you will land on a page that looks like this. Click on roles from the left navigation menu and then click create role. For the trusted entity type, select AWS account and scroll down and make sure that you click the require external ID option. Now temporarily, I'll add a random access ID, so I'm going to provide 5 zeros to it. And after that, we will update it later on. And then click on next. Now we have to give permissions to this role, right? So we have to allow Snowflake to read the data from the S3 bucket. So in this case, you have to type S3 and hit enter. And from the available options, you have to select Amazon S3 full access. And then click on next. Now let's give a meaningful name to your role. So I'm going to call it Snowflake AWS role. And in the description, I'm gonna say access for Snowflake. Leave everything as it is and click on create role. So we have created a role for Snowflake to access the AWS. For the next step, which is to create a bucket, type S3 in the search bar and click the first option that appears. From here, you have to click create bucket. Here, provide a meaningful name to your bucket and then uncheck the box that says block all public access. After that, you will acknowledge by clicking a checkbox that you are aware of the consequences for doing so. Leave everything as it is and then simply click create bucket. One thing to remember is that your buckets region and the Snowflake region should be the same. So once our bucket is created, we'll go ahead and create different folders in it. So the first folder that I'm going to create, I'm going to call it ecommerce_dev. And then once that folder is created, then inside that folder, I'm going to create another folder and I'll call it line item. Once the line item folder is created, I'm going to go inside it and then I'm going to create 3 different folders for it, which are line item underscore CSV, line item underscore JSON, and line item underscore Parquet. And once all 3 folders are created, I am going to move into the line item underscore CSV file, and inside that I am going to upload my CSV file that I am going to use in this video. And similarly, I am going to upload the files in the line item underscore JSON and line item underscore Parquet folders as well. Once all the data has been uploaded, now go to your Snowflake account. And the first thing that I'm gonna do is use the role account admin. This is because integration objects cannot be created using a role other than the account admin role. Any development or engineering task must be performed using a known account admin role. So you cannot be a sysadmin or use any custom role and create an integration object. So you must be using the account admin role in order to create the integration object. Now I'll go ahead and create a storage integration object. The syntax is really simple. You have to write create or replace a storage integration and then provide a name to your integration object. In this case, it is AWS underscore SF underscore data. Type is external stage because the storage location is external, which is AWS S3 bucket. Storage provider is S3. For the storage allowed location, you have to provide your bucket name. So you can either copy it from the AWS or you can write it on your own. And the next thing we have to provide is the storage AWS role ARN. And for that, you have to go back to your AWS account. And for the role that you have just created, click on it and you will see ARN link. Copy this and then go back to your Snowflake and paste it here. By providing a link to the entire S3 bucket to the storage allowed location, we are granting it access to the entire S3 bucket. Okay, so I forgot to add the /, add it here. And once you run it, you will see that your AWS underscore SF underscore data storage integration object will be created. Let's now type the next command, which is describe the integration, and after that we'll provide the name of our integration object. So if I run this command, you will see something like this. So the 2 values that you need to fetch from here are row number 5 and row number 7. Okay, so let's just copy the AWS IAM user ARN. Then I'm gonna go back to my AWS account, click on the role that we just created and click on trust relationships. From there, you have to click Edit Trust Policy. And the ARN that you have just copied needs to be added here. Now we have to add the external ID. Go back to your Snowflake and copy the storage AWS external ID and then come back to your AWS account and then paste it in place of external ID. So now what we have done is we have created a role in the AWS. We have created a new bucket and uploaded our data into the bucket. And then we have created an integration object and granted it access to the S3 bucket. And by editing the trust policy, we are authenticating the Snowflake to access the data present inside the S3 bucket in AWS. Now that we have updated the IAM role that we created in order for Snowflake to access the S3 bucket, let's move on to the next step now. First of all, I would like you guys to switch to the role sysadmin and create a new schema inside the database ecommerce_dbs. For that, we will first use the database ecommerce_db, and then I'm going to create a schema called ecommerce_dev. Let's run it, and our schema has been successfully created. Now I want you guys to create an empty line item table. This is because we are going to ingest the data from our S3 bucket into this empty line item table. So we are gonna ingest the data from the line item _CSV folder. All these files will be available in the resources. So now let's create the empty line item table. I'm gonna say create or replace table line item, and I'm going to cluster it by L_ship_date. And the cluster key should be the same as the one present inside the schema ecommerce_live. And I'm going to select the data from the schema ecommerce_live and its table line item. Let's run it, and you will see that your table has been successfully created. Since we limit the number of rows to 1, so it means that this table currently has 1 row. So in order to correct it, I am going to truncate the table line item. So now we have the empty table here. Okay, I couldn't find the table, so let me first use the newly created schema. So I'm going to write use schema ecommerce_db.ecommerce_dev, and then once again I am going to run the create or replace table line item command to create the table inside the ecommerce_dev schema. And once this is done, once again I am going to run the truncate command. The next thing that we need to do is to create a file format. Now, a file format is basically a set of rules which has a name and tells the Snowflake what is the file format that is being ingested into the table. So once we create this file format, we are going to use this name at the time of creating the stage object. Inside this file format, we have a bunch of parameters. Firstly, you have to define the type, which is going to be CSV in this case. Compression is auto, meaning auto detect. Then you have to define the field delimiter, record delimiter, and the skip header is set to true. And then there are a bunch of other parameters as well. Let's run this, and you will see that your file format has been successfully created by the name CSV load format. Once your file format is created, the next step is to create a staging table. So typically, every table has its own stage, which refers to the specific location in the S3 bucket. Okay, so we are going to create the stage by using the command create stage. I am going to call it stage_line item_CSV_dev, defining that it is going to be a CSV file stage for the table line item. Then the next thing is to define the storage integration, and this is going to be the integration object that we created in the previous video, whose name was AWS_SF_data. And the next thing to define is the URL. So we are going to ingest the data from a S3 bucket inside the folder line item_CSV. So go to that location, copy the S3 URI, and in place of URL, paste the URL that you have just copied. Now this stage refers to this location in the S3 bucket. So everything which is present inside the line item_CSV folder will be ingested into the table line item. And then finally, we are going to define the file format which we have just created, which is CSV_load_format. So once this is done, let's go ahead and run it. So the stage object has been created. Now it's time to list the contents present inside the stage object. So I'm gonna write list @ and then I'm going to write name of our stage object. So this command shows you a list of all the contents present inside the stage object, meaning everything which the stage refers to has been listed. you can see that it is displaying all the files which are present in our S3 location that it refers to. Now it is time to ingest the data, which is done by using a simple copy command. So the command says copy into, then we have to provide the table name, which is the line item, and after the from phrase we have to provide the name of the stage object. After that we have to define the file format, which is going to be the format that we have just created, and then we have to define what happens on error. So we are going to abort the statement in case of error. Let's run it, and you will see that all the files present inside our S3 bucket inside the table line item underscore CSV have been loaded, and you can clearly see the status to be loaded for both of the files. Moreover, you can also see the number of rows that are parsed. Now I am going to run a simple count command. So I'm going to write the command select count1 from line item. Upon running, you will see a total of 1473 rows inside the line item, which is equivalent to the sum of rows or present inside both of the files that were ingested from our S3 bucket. Let's go ahead and view some of the data. So I'm going to write a command select star from line item, and I'm going to limit the number of rows to 10. Upon running, you will see the first 10 rows from the line item table that have been ingested from the files present inside a S3 bucket. So this is how you can ingest CSV files from the S3 bucket to your Snowflake table. That's all for this video. I'll see you in the next one.